Can you see the postbox on the left?
The bombing postbox.
It's iconic, isn't it, really?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It was the only thing left standing in the area was this postbox, which I think shows how well designed they are. It was the only thing left standing in the area was this postbox, which I think shows how well designed they are to withstand a bomb like that. It says a lot about street furniture just in itself, doesn't it? About how important things like that can be. What's the other image?
It looks like a pissoir.
Pissoir. Is that where we got the word piss from the French pissoir? I suppose it was, really. When is that an image from, do you think? Or where is it from?
It looks like anywhere in northern France by the look of it.
Well, it's Paris and it's 1860s.
Oh, right.
Baron Haussmann, who did a total revamp of the centre of Paris in a rather dictatorial way, but because they had a plan. You could see it's to install these facilities like a pissoir for gentlemen to be able to take a rather public piss, really, isn't it?
Going for a pee. The French will say "je vais me pencher," which means to lean, and because apparently it comes down from the fact of when you were having a pee in public, you leant forward to try and obscure face.
Right.
It feels very wrong that there's not a female pissoir.
Well, there aren't any male pissoirs now either. Where are the public toilets now? We could go into a long discussion about that actually, because they're not there. They're just not there. Whether it's men or women. But so there's been, I think some people think there's a deteriorating nature of street furniture rather than it's sort of getting better in any way. Well, you know that in Manchester they have, where over the weekend they put portable toilets in the areas where people have been, mostly men have been, I imagine, have been pissing in the street because there's nowhere else to piss after coming out of the pub or a club, and they put these portable ones in the designated wet areas. Very interesting article in the Financial Times about it, that street furniture has become an expression of alienation rather than amenity. Telephone boxes, one thing I can always remember about telephone boxes is how much they smelt. Because I think men would go in there and have a pee, wouldn't they, rather than do it outside?
Yeah, awful.
They weren't very pleasant, to be quite honest. No. But there are still some around. Relatively new ones were okay. But with the advent of mobile phones, but they've by and large disappeared, haven't they? There are very few of them.
I've encountered some that are used quite libraries, just they're full of books and you can help yourself.
That's right. That's a really good idea, isn't it? And there's a postbox that's been, if you can see it in the background, there's also a very Chorlton bike there. And then it's been decorated with little images, things that on the top, little figures on the top. I don't know if you can see it very well. But this was a thing where people went round beautifying postboxes for a while.
It's knitting, Bernard. It's still going on.
Is it?
Everywhere. People knit them or crochet them. But yeah, I know the one down our road. If it was at Halloween, there was a Halloween one. And
so it's kind of theme-based. It's really good. Chorlton Office, as it was called, the bus stop with the 81 bus. I thought I'd look back at some old signs. You can see there are lampposts, there are telephone boxes, and there's on the left, you can see a typical bus stop.
I was looking at the lady at the front of that picture. She just looked like my grandma. And if you can see her legs, she's got like bow legs, which my grandma had.
Yeah.
Was that due to a form of rickets, was it? Or something like that?
I don't know. It's the nurse in me, you see.
No, well spotted. I think this is...
weighing up the symptoms.
They were no good for stopping pigs in entries, were they?
Exactly. Couldn't stop a pig in a ginnel.
And there's no yellow lines in there as well.
Yeah. Far less clutter on the road. Here's another one. The must have been near the centre. Typical. It looks like a temporary bus stop, that one. Why do you think that bus stops like this are like that?
Stop people falling asleep, trapped.
Stop overnight sleeping on it. So,
yes.
Isn't it really cynical the way these things are designed to prevent people from doing something? You have nowhere else to go.
It's now being criminalised, isn't it, to sleep outdoors, even in the city.
Punitive, instead of the other way around, thinking about how you can deal with it. Just punish them. God, it drives me crazy. That does.
Right is a dustbin just outside Chorlton Good Neighbours. Quite good when they first came out, those B waste bins, but you can see what a mess that's in. And also look at the place to sit on its left. That's rather got a bit dilapidated as well, isn't it? But the waste bin on the left is interesting because it's actually one that is resistant to bombs. It's a bomb-proof waste bin.
Isn't it fantastic that they spend money on designing a bin that you can't put bombs in? But the one on the right, they haven't thought about designing bins that stop magpies and crows and pigeons getting in there that pull out all the rubbish and spread it around.
I've noticed recently, go on the metro, the waste bins there used to be like this, but now they're just plastic bags hanging on a hook.
So you can see what's been put in it.
Now, one of my interests is looking at the number of green boxes that there are around. Because when I started doing things about landlines, I sort of noticed the importance of these green boxes, BT telecom boxes. And wandering around Chorlton, I can see about 20 or 30 of them. A lot of them are just messed up now. They've just been used with really crude graffiti like that one, haven't been properly repaired. But I'm sure all of us remember the site on the right, equivalent of that, of an engineer opening the box and doing what looked like an impossible job.
They're always doing it down our road. There's one at the bottom of our street. There's always somebody there fiddling around with it.
But I think it's quite likely that they will be disappearing along with the rest of them. Then, of course, there are the grids. This was on a rare rainy day in Manchester. I took this one. But I like the fact that it's got Manchester on them. And I like the way that they've done the holes in them so that bikes won't get caught in them, which I think is good. But I do like them. Apparently, people collect photos of grids. And in Japan, they actually collect the lids themselves, presumably hiding them rather than just lifting them up and leaving holes, which would be extremely dangerous.
Rochdale,
Yeah.
many of them got Isaac Butterworth, Nile Street, Boundary.
You see the chalkboard on the right. There's a day every year when the main road in Chorlton is blocked off to traffic and community groups use it and you can wander around it. And there's one of the chalk signs. But you can see the one on the left. That's of a shop on Beach Road that I took in the 1980s. And it was one of 3 butchers on Beach Road. 3 butchers on a very small road. And what I really like about it is the white liquid chalk writing on the window. You see that? And one of the reasons I like that so much is that my mum and dad had a greengrocer's shop in Stretford, and my mother had lovely handwriting. She wrote in italics. And I always thought that the sign she put on the shop window, and I watched her doing it in the white chalk from a little jam jar. I thought they were really beautiful. There's one on Beach Road that I suddenly remembered that I had a photograph of. What's that? Lamb's liver, 68p. Here's another one, which is bike racks, which you never used to have. This is the Bowling Green pub at the end of our road. And this one's in Levenshulme, are usually cluttered, a very cluttered street scene, car sound studio. And those things which have become very popular, which are the flags. Have you noticed them? They sort of fly around. I don't particularly like them. I don't feel they're quite British. I don't think there's anything wrong with them, really, but there you go.
Don't go to America, Bernard. All the car lots there have blow-up dolls and waving things.
This is one I took in Albert Square in Manchester on another surprisingly wet day again. And there's just to show the bollards. They've got, in the city centre, they've got rather more elegant bollards than normal, I think, there. And
I think he thinks you were taking a photo of him now.
yeah, he looks like he's about to come and beat me.
He does. He looks like he's going to say, "What are you up to?"
He looks like he's going to say bollards any minute.
Actually, it was one of my favourite words for that, bollards. You know, it's like, it does sound like an insult, doesn't it? And this one I took out in Levenshulme, where it's a meeting. The people who are writing on the library window. I don't know what for. Something to do with lockdown. I can't remember. But there is a more typical modern seat. Again, not long enough for anybody to be able to lie on, really. But there you go. And a rather inelegant bus stops, I think. There was a trend in the bus stops to have them all glass windows, didn't they? And every so often you go past one and it was absolutely shattered into little bits. You know, drunks had come out and see it as a challenge to actually manage to break one because they weren't supposed to be easily breakable. So they come in and very carefully put in a new window, that would go down, and then eventually they gave you a rather scraggy metal one to say, this isn't a very nice area. A 76-year-old woman in Rochdale has complained that a broadband mast from Wireless put up directly outside her home without warning. A spokesperson from IX Wireless said, the placement of the poles are within permitted development rules which allow telecom providers throughout the UK to undertake infrastructure work without any permission. They can just go ahead and do these. And they're coming up all over the place. Here's one info. They're saying they failed to answer complaints made by residents, and that there's a motion gone up to the Farnworth Council, which is Conservative controlled and which is approved by the Conservative group as well, to try and get them something done about it. Though, interestingly, the IX Wireless is a Blackburn firm which last year donated more than 138,000 to 24 Conservative MPs, including those in Farnworth. So they're claiming that they're helping residents complain about them whilst receiving funding from the firm that's installing them, which I thought was interesting. One for Graham. BRSK telecoms poles are randomly appearing outside homes in the south of Trafford Borough. This was another article. And again, without any permission, though they are more familiar. In some ways, I don't mind the wooden ones as much as I do the metal ones. This is apparently it's very big in Hull. And that's the local MP, Tory MP, who supported a regulation allowing them to make them go up to 20 meters without regulation, which they put forward this last year. And this was by a firm called MS3. And there's, as you can see, there's a protest about it. And if you want to join it, there's a Facebook group which wants stop unwanted broadband pole and mast installation in our communities. One of the things they pointed out is that they're being put up soaked in creosote, which you're banned from using in your gardens nowadays.
So they were made of metal.
No, well, these aren't. These are made of wood. I thought that as well, but they're using wrong way. So in Bolton, they've been deploying some 50-foot, 15-meter tall metal. The regular wooden poles are normally around 6 to 10 meters and slimmer. There have been complaints from members of the nearby communities, especially where network cables have traditionally all been run underground, which they were in Chorlton 20 years ago by Nynafik rocket launcher. There was Sky TV, a broadcast about company donating to MPs, and they tried to access their headquarters in Blackburn and got no reply from them, saying their press office didn't want to talk to the press. So under existing government plans, existing masts up to 15 meters in height will be able to be increased to a total height of up to 20 meters and be expanded in width by up to a third without new planning permission being required. That was in May 2013. I don't know what stage it's reached yet. Of course, all of these started with the radio telegraphy transmitting station in Cornwall in 1900, which I suppose is a forerunner. This is another interesting sidelight on it, links to COVID. Apparently, 1/3 of British people said in a 2020 survey that they cannot rule out a link between COVID-19 and 5G. 5G is the latest form of broadband, and these are what the poles are being put up for because it requires a greater line of sight. So that's why they're making them so tall, so that they can reach people's homes. And a more recent survey said 8% believe that there is a link between the two, while 19% remained unsure. It was what the actual conspiracy theory was, that the government is using the COVID-19 vaccine to place microchips in the population.
Yeah, that all came out of America, Bernard, with 4G. I mean, and the idea that so-called intelligent individuals can't see the difference between an amoebic transference of something and digital transference.
Apparently, a person walking around Manchester city centre will be caught on camera on average of hundreds of times a day. And I thought this was interesting. This is a list of the top 5 most watched cities in the UK. 809,000, this is 2020, almost 250,000 in Manchester, which is by far the second largest after London. And the UK has one of the highest numbers of security cameras per head than anywhere in the world. Interestingly, though, have any of you got these, which are the cameras on your door, front door?
No.
They're increasingly popular. They're on almost, I'd say, it's increased them now so that the private and domestic CCTV cameras are now outnumbering public ones by a ratio of 70-1. There are loads and loads of them. And I was wondering how many webcams are available for you to watch on a this is just a live one in Manchester. Anybody? Oh, there it is. That's live now from Deansgate. Very interesting it is too. People walking up and down, occasional bus. That's your lot. So you can go and view webcams as well if you want to do that. There it is. This one from Stretford. Maureen, are you aware of these?
No, I'm just looking. When you said Stretford, then I was just trying to place it, but don't know.
It's near the traffic lights, just opposite the precinct.
They're doing so much renovation and repairs, and the roads are up and everything.
Well, this got into the Daily Meet and the seaside loungers coming to Stretford precinct. Yeah,
we walked down it the other day, and it's a massive improvement from what really it's nice planting and plenty of space to walk and all the rest of it. People, it means there'll be less roading.
I agree with you. I think it's a really good improvement, and I think long may the sun loungers live.
Sun loungers are nailed down.
Yeah, yes, exactly. We're about to be cut off, so good to see you all.
Yeah. So the police don't move people on who decide to lie on those and have a bit of a kip,